All right, let's try to find some answers here relative to what we just heard from the education minister the other day, the idea that even now, what are we, less than a week away from kids going back to school, at least some, we are somewhere above 2,700 teachers short to start the school year. And again, it's a big number, and then to hear the government try to suggest, well, it was worse last year, I'm not sure that brings a whole lot of relief to parents and certainly not to educators. Carolane Desmarais, president of the Fédération des professionnels et professionnelles de l'éducation here in Quebec, and she is on the line. Carolane, first of all, it's a week away from school. This is kind of late to be finding this out, and for the government to say, don't worry?
Yes, that's a very weird answer from the government, because the back-to-school period now is starting in a real climate of uncertainty for the school staff. We need to point out that the context of instability in which the students will be welcome in the coming days is incredible.
Okay. Go ahead.
So we know right now, less than a week before the start of the school year, that there are nearly 3,000 teaching positions to be filled in Quebec. For the professional and the super staff, the situation remains unclear. We don't have the data from the ministry dashboard, but the picture for teachers already gives us reasons to fear the worst. The available data that we have right now for the teaching positions show us that there's actually been cut for teaching positions. That means there are fewer teachers right now in school this year than last year, despite the increase in both student numbers and their needs. So this leads us to expect the worst for professionals and the support staff also.
Okay, can I try to have you explain what that means? So you have more students, we know that. The government's made a point of saying, hey, there are more students. But what about this part, and this came up, I think, last year when we had a shortage, and the government said, don't worry, if it means putting just bodies in classes, these are unqualified teachers necessarily, then that's okay. Is that the situation we're in right now?
Yes, it's the same situation. We know that there's a larger proportion of the teaching staff that are unqualified, and to help those people who raise their hand to give their help in the public system, educational public system, we need also professional staff and support staff to help them to make sure that they are able to teach our children what they need to learn. And right now what we know is we can confirm that teachers will have the help that they need to be able to teach. So this is something also that is very worrying for us.
I know when we first talked about this, the idea of support staff, which people sometimes don't take into account in schools, but is serious because they do so much of the work as well. But when it comes to, you're starting school in 6 days, what happens if these spots aren't filled by then?
In the education system, we are used to do a lot with so little. So we will do our best, but what we fear is that in a few weeks, in a few months, maybe people will suffer from the situation. We are talking maybe about burnout or health problem that can happen, and that will lead to more leave. And we know, because the government already told us, the school board already confirmed that to us, that our leaves, at least for the professional staff, they won't be filled during the school year. So it's kind of one step closer and two steps back right now.
Does that necessarily mean some programs that you would offer you will not be able to offer if this doesn't change?
Well, truly everything is on the table. It's hard for us to have a clear understanding of what will going on during the next school years. And this is sad to say because we, as you already said, we are less than a week before the start of the school year. So right now, basically, we are supposed to know what will going on in school for the next years, but we can't have any confirmation. So this is the context of instability in which the students will be welcome. And we know that this is going to have a lot of impact for them and also for the staff.
You know, whenever we talk about things like this, where, you know, the government seems to not make a big deal about the fact that there'll be, in this case, so many teachers missing, are you in contact with the government or with the ministry or the minister to try to address this, or are you just finding out about these things as we find out about them in the media?
We find when we are talking about like budget cuts or something like that, usually we learn it in the media. So. And of course, this is not something that we agree upon with the minister. We are even asking the government for a few months now to have a bigger reflection, a great collective reflection about education. And for now, they don't want to talk about it. But if education is a real priority for our government, we think that we are there. We need a great collective reflection. We are asking for it, and for now, we don't have any access about this topic in the ministry.
Wow. I would ask one other thing, and of course that concerns, you know, the future, but now as well. You know, we talk about having fewer and fewer people who actually even want to get into the teaching profession because of stories like this. What do you hear from some of your teachers, you know, when they hear this, that there are not going to be enough qualified teachers? Are you seeing more people say, you know what, I'm not sure if I want to continue doing this, or I plan to retire? Are you hearing that?
Of course, we are hearing some people talking like that, and we can understand, you know, it's not a great context to work in the education system. People need more recognition from the workload that they have. We need real solution in education to be sure that people feel that there is hope there and the situation will be better in the next few years. But now this is not what happened. We need predictability. We want a plan, a collective project, structuring and inspiring for the Quebec of tomorrow. And I think that this is part of what will help people to stay in the educational sector right now. We need to have a real priority given to the education system.
So just as I wrap up, I'm wondering too, you know, you have parents listening now saying, okay, here we go again, not enough teachers in classrooms. What's the message to parents? What are you asking them to do?
Well, for the union, you know, we will continue to speak out and mobilize for the full restoration of education budgets. So we are hoping that parents will continue to mobilize also themselves and speak out. So if there is problem with the services, with access to the services for their children, we think that they need to ask their deputy about it, tell them and ask them questions. Why is it possible? You know, the school need to offer the right services at the right time for our students. You know, the Minister of Education himself admitted this summer that all students don't have access to the services they are entitled to. It's written in the law. For us, it is unacceptable. Young people in Quebec have the right to quality public services, and I think that parents need to fight with us in this in this sense.
Well, let's hope that's the case. First of all, let's hope that, you know, this gets solved before we get to school. It's hard to believe you could fill 400 jobs a day over the next 6 days. Carolane, I wish you luck. I thank you so much for the time. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon.
Pleasure. Carolane Desmarais from the Fédération des professionnels here in education in Quebec. And yeah, that's what we're looking at. Come next week, August 27th, when some kids already go back to school, there will be 2,700 plus teachers still missing in the system. Hard to believe, but that's what we're looking at.